Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on to the second day afternoon section. We do have a forum on STS, which is called Beyond Boundaries, how STS contributes to a dynamic job market, with a great monitoring of Dr. Mohdi Istajib Mukhtar. Before I give the floor to Dr. Istajib, I would like to introduce him to our participant. Dr. Mohdi Istajib holds the position of Senior Lecturer in the Department of Science and Technology Studies, Faculty of Science, University Malaya. He boasts nearly a decade of experience instructing both undergraduate and postgraduate students in range of interdisciplinary subjects, including but not limited to environmental management and policy, environmental ethics and philosophy, science and religion, science and law, digital law, and communication ethics. Evidence based on the policy and social legal research of sustainability science. His scholarly pursuits are concentrated in fields closely aligned with the sustainability science, encompassing the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, as well as environmental, social, and governance, ESG matters. His research portfolio further encompasses domains like environmental communication and public engagement, environmental policy, law and ethics, and intersection of science with law, religion, and art. Thank you so much for participating for this afternoon. Dr. Istajib, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Hashim. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's forum on Beyond Boundaries, how STS contributes to a dynamic job market. The exciting topic of how science and technology graduates are making substantial contributions to our ever-evolving job market. I'm Dr. Istajib, and I'm thrilled to be your moderator for this insightful discussion. In a world driven by innovation and progress, the role of science and technology graduates cannot be overstated. From groundbreaking research to cutting-edge application, they play an important role in driving economic growth and societal advancement. But the science and technology studies is a special program. Despite the fact that our department is called Science and Technology, it actually offers a platform for studying the socio-economic and cultural dimension of science and technology by exploring how progress in scientific knowledge and technological advancement affects society and vice versa. Such efforts are reflected in the department's unique interdisciplinary program that integrate insight from public policy, philosophy, ethics, religion, sociology, economic, and sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this video to learn more about STS. Technical team, kindly help me to play the video.
Give me one.
significant events in human history and its future. From the first and fourth, the Industrial Revolution had tremendous positive and negative impacts on the economy, society, and environment worldwide. But what is the most substantial impact? Humanity. It's now or never for you to join science and technology studies and be a part of the effort to humanize science and technology towards sustainability. The fourth industrial revolution. The world is enhanced with cyber networking, cyber physical systems, the Internet of Things, and networks as we know today. What is science and technology studies? It is a study about science. It is a study that considers the social implications of the human experience in a technological society. To better appreciate the many complex ways in which science, technology, and societal interaction. STS is a study about science, technology, society interaction with diverse disciplines. It also encompasses the field of natural sciences, which includes physics, chemistry, and biology. And last but not least, the study of the Earth. The objectives of STS studies comprises of 4 central goals: to advocate holistic view on science, to instill the art of humanizing science, to foster leadership in science, to widen career prospects in science. These are the distributions of STS programs. As listed on the critical occupations list, the STS field has promising career prospects. We have developed our teaching and research competencies in these areas. Currently, our department is offering these programs for application. Humans create technology, but don't let technology destroy humanity. Join us in our goal to humanize science and technology.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed participants, now I'm honored to introduce our distinguished panelists who will provide us with their valuable insight today. Our first panelist, Mr. Wan Azrin Izani bin Wan Muhammad Zain. Mr. Wan Azrin is a name synonymous with dedication and contribution in the field of health and science education, serving as the Principal Assistant Director of the Community Mobilization Branch within the Health Education Division of the Ministry of Health since the year 2020. Mr. Wan Azrin has been at the forefront of driving health-related education and awareness in our society. Mr. Wan Azrin is also a member of the Ministry of Health Strategy Communication Committee, actively contributing to shaping strategy communication initiatives that bridge the gap between healthcare information and the public. He is an alumnus of the STS program, graduated in the year 2023. Okay. Assalamualaikum. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Wan Azrin.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our second esteemed panelist who is making waves in the fields of technology and entrepreneurship, Madam Shahnaz Shahizan. She's not just a professional, she is a visionary leader who has been driving change and innovation in dynamic way as the co-founder, director, and CEO of Cleos Technologies Rian Berhad. Shahnaz's journey is not only one of entrepreneurship, but also of dedicated research As an experienced postgraduate researcher, she has contributed significantly to public administration with a focus on decision modeling in Malaysia technological landscape. Shana's expertise extends to area of public policy development, science and technology policy analysis, and strategic planning. She has cultivated a network that bridges the gap between government entities, industry players, academicians, civil servants, and local community, fostering collaboration for a more robust and inclusive future. Madam Shana Shahizan is an alumna who graduated in the year 2004, a year after our previous panelists. Thank you for being a part of this discussion, Mr. Shahnas.
Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Salam. Our next panelist is Mr. Muhammad Nur Musa. Muhammad Nur is a research analyst at Institute of Masa Depan Malaysia, MASA, focusing on bioethics and climate action research. He is currently in charge of MASA Policy Development Program, MPDP, promoting policy research amongst university researchers and providing input and recommendations for the National Recovery Plan and 12th Malaysia Plan. He is experienced in a wide range of projects, stakeholder engagement, and research built, including science and technology policy, SDG, integrated water resource management, bioethics, climate change, and eco-theology with various institutions such as the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, Institute of Future Studies Sweden, Kyoto University, OIC, Climate Action Network, IFES United Kingdom, Islamic Relief Worldwide, Royal Swedish Academy of Science, Institute for Global Environmental Strategies in Japan, and UNESCO. He has published articles in newspapers, journal, book, chapter, presented his paper in Indonesia, Singapore, Japan, Sweden, Turkey, South Korea, and UAE. He is an alumnus of STS program, Bachelor and Master, graduated in the year 2015. Assalamualaikum, Abno. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Last but not least, Miss Alma Artin Vakari. Okay. She's not yet formally graduated, okay, but she is now working at Unilever Malaysia and was selected as the only candidate out of hundreds of applicants to undergo a 3-year accelerated development program, Unilever Future Leaders Program, under Customer Business Development Unit. Miss Alma Artin Vakari is a trailblazing individual who has already accomplished remarkable feat in the field of social entrepreneurship, youth leadership, and education. Alma stands as the co-founder and project development lead of Kita Genius. Kita Genius, a social enterprise founded as part of McKinsey Youth Leadership Academy. Kita Genius focuses on instilling leadership and problem-solving skill within the young refugee community in Malaysia. But Alma's contribution extends even further. She served as the Vice President of Strategic Development for the CALSOM movement, an independent and voluntary student-led charity movement. The CALSOM movement is dedicated to addressing education inequality in Malaysia. Thank you, Alma, for joining us. So today, we actually have alumni who graduated in 2003 and alumni to be who will graduate in this year, 2023. There is a 20-year gap between the first panelist and the last panelist. It also demonstrates that the STS program has been running for more than 20 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists and participants, we are now about to embark on the first session of our forum. And it's time to journey back in time for our throwback session. To kickstart off this session, I will show their old photo to remind them their memorable moment at the STS department. Okay, can you see the slides? Okay. Alma Artin Vakari. Now, and then next, Muhammad Nur Musa. Sorry, Mak Nur. Sorry, Makno. Now, next, Shahna Shahizan. Now, then, still cute. And lastly, Mr. Wan Azrin Izani. Now, still handsome. Okay, so let's continue. So today I will ask the exact same question to all our panelists. In this session, we'll delve into the personal stories. So can you share your moment as STS alumni, experience as student, and how your journey after graduation made you who you are today? We'll begin by hearing from Mr. Wan Azrin first, followed by Madam Shahnaz, Wadno, and Alma. The screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Is, who is also a fellow passionate who is interested in terms of poetry and so on. The same class. So I would like to actually my journey started in the civil service in 2003, just a few months after graduation. And beforehand, during my days in STS, I have learned a lot of things that actually opened my mind, and also our intellectualism in terms of embracing the interdisciplinary concept of things. Dr. Is, there is a conversation behind the scene, which has not been muted.
Yeah, I just hear I just text
Yeah.
to mute their microphone.
It's a bit distracting.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah. They
Okay.
realized that and fixed it.
Okay,
Thank
never
you.
mind.
Please
It's
go
okay.
ahead.
Okay. And once I graduated in 2003, firstly, I was being recruited by a private company in Batang Kali, Selangor, which involved in the rubber industry. And in December 2003, afterwards, I managed to successfully be recruited by Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation at that time, mostly. So how I managed to come to Ministry of Health. There was a time once the Malaysian Health Promotion Board was formed in 2007. They called for a new recruits or officers to helm the community mobilization program and also community empowerment program under health promotion or health sector. So I registered myself, and I managed to successfully beat several few hundreds candidates also. So, and I come into the join the board, and for the next 10 years or 12 years, I was in the Malaysian Health Promotion Board. And actually the journey that managed to, the journey that I took in STS placed me well enough in terms of embracing the idea of different cultures, different thoughts, the intellectual tradition and so on. I would like to quote what Nelson Mandela once told. He once told the story of the first day that he went to Robben Island. So when Oprah Winfrey asked him in 2000 during the Oprah Winfrey show, he said, "You must fight the battle for dignity. On the very first day you go to jail." And that's what we did. We put our foot down and insisted on being respected even though we are prisoners. And even Mandela, to the extent, he gave a lot of respect to other fellow prisoners, and he said that he was in the company of inspiring human being that's much better qualified than him. So I think in our world today, it's not in terms of changing technologies, the Internet of Things and so on, even the socio-demographic geopolitics influence the whatever happened and influence the job market today. So we must also, as a alumni of STS, and if there is a participant from current students in the program, the program help us to make our feet grounded to the reality, and we are open for discussion, debate, and argument from others. So that we are, and if you said when you are working in the civil service, most of our time will involve our job scope involved with the policy making and so on, and that will involve so much paperwork and so on. So our skills in terms of collecting recollection of ideas that must be put on the papers, and that's the skill, the soft skill that we must use in terms of ensuring the policy or ideas to be taken away. And currently in the Ministry of Health, the Deputy Minister of Health is the former alumni of SS. So I feel very welcome, and we have our alumni on board in Ministry of Health as a Deputy Minister. That's my journey, and currently I'm in Health Education Division, and currently running the, I'm in Kuantan right now. I just finished the East Coast training session for health volunteers in Pahang. So we are talking about telling these coordinators of our volunteers to empower our volunteers to implement health initiative at the ground level, and there is a component of social innovation, social enterprise, and social business that we are going to implement in our program, and we need a lot of collaboration. And I am really happy that I have been talking to Dr. Ng, the head of the STS department, and he is willing to come aboard, and he's going to meet the Deputy Minister and talk about this. So I'm really happy, and we hope that STS can excellently being placed at the national level in terms of as a transformation center or community lab for social innovation and changes, especially in the health sector. So that's my take on the first question, Dr. Is.
Thank you. We proceed with Madam Shahnas.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon, everyone. So let me just tell you a bit of a story. I have no idea what I wanted to do going to the Faculty of Science. And if there's any students still out there, so it's okay. Okay, don't worry about it. Life will, you just have to go with the flow, try your best, you know. So going into science and technology, yes, I can say that I've learned all the players of science and technology ecosystem, you know, from government to civil societies, to the public, to the community. However, it doesn't really sink in, you know, until you actually went to work and those things come to you. And then you're suddenly like, oh yeah, I learned about this in my degree. So it's very helpful. But like Chairman Azri mentioned, also the humility is the priceless part of my journey as a student, where we learn to basically be the middle child of everyone, the peacekeeper. So we understand a bit of everything, a bit of science, a bit of community, and a bit of everything as policy, science and technology, I mean technology itself. So that really helps in basically anywhere that you go. So you don't really need to worry, oh, I need to be a PTD, I need to go into private sector, you know, for now. So just go with the flow and take every opportunity that you get. But I definitely need to thank Prof. Dr. Cik Wan Jasima, yeah, Dr. Ng, Dr. Suzana, my supervisors, and Dr. Siti Nurani. They have basically gave me tough love. You know how UM culture is nothing spoon-fed, but you learn to be resilient. And that is the most important thing going into the career wise, yeah, into your job, into the workforce. So just a bit of an explanation of what I went through. So my first posting as a PTD, administrative and diplomatic officer of the government, also like Cik Wan Azrin. In 2005, I was in the Poverty Eradication Division of Rural Ministry of Rural Regional Development. And then 5 years there, and another 5 years as the Director of Capacity Development in the Department of Women's Development, so Ministry of Women. And then 2 years of masters back in STS. And then another 5 years, finally, in Ministry of Science, Technology, Innovation. That would seem like the ultimate goal, right? As an STS student, I want to go to that particular ministry. However, the reality of it is, when you go there, you see that there's so many things that I still want to change and I still want to do. And it's still okay. You get to where you want to be, but you see that there's more that you want to be done. Hence my journey at the age of 40, I chose early retirement and I started my own technology startup as a CEO of Clears Technologies. So more stories to come. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mak Nor, your turn.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. It's good to see familiar faces here. My name is Muhammad Noor. So a little bit of sharing actually during my younger times in science and technology studies. I'm a late bloomer actually. I keep looking for a program that can fit my needs. So I was fascinated to STS with a particular program which is called Science and Religion. Because for me, it was my aha moment. Because during my younger times, we try to find meanings in our life. See? So I try to connect everything through science and also social science. So by enrolling to that particular subject, I discover many things. I discover many things, and it later makes sense to me that everything that we do, we must relate to science, because science gives you an objectivity and also provide you a system thinking. So STS is actually a value added to my lifelong learning, because I learned a lot about the multidimensional role of science in the society. So I started my career actually earlier during my university years. To tell you the truth, I'm actually a research assistant during my undergrads. So my passion is in research. So I keep on looking for extra jobs at University of Malaya. Professor Dr. Cik Wan Jasima, Dr. Zida, and all, few of my mentors, they actually exposed me to the research work. So after that, I further my career at Institute of Aman Islam Malaysia, IKIM. Some of my colleagues feel like, why are you at IKIM? Because it's a religious institution. But for me, I think it's a very interesting experience. I spent my 5 years times there as a special officer to the Director General of IKIM, where we try to actually integrating socio-cultural values with the sustainable development goals at that time. And we managed to actually formulate few of policy inputs to make sure that religious authority put more emphasis on the issue of climate, as well as the issue of environmental education. So after 5 years at Institute of Aman Islam Malaysia, I was very much exposed to all this advisory work in the government, within the government. So I managed to be in a few of the councils and committees. And after that, my passion, I continue my passion in policy research. So I take a challenge to be the manager in at Institute Masa Depan Malaysia, where we're focusing on a policy development program. We introduced a policy development program, and we've managed to actually get 30 policy briefs and also 30 researchers from 39 universities to actually embark in this our inaugural seminar on national recovery plan in Malaysia. So actually at Masa, I try to give some inputs and recommendation to the National Recovery Council in the area of socio-economic and also sustainable development. So I've been in Masa for 3 years now, and Alhamdulillah, this year we've also introduced our second cohort of MPDP, and we managed to get 37 recipients, researchers, 7 of them from University Malaya, to do some groundwork research on issues pertaining to socio-economic development in Malaysia. I think that's also for me. Thank you.
Alma.
Okay, hi everyone. So Alma here. I think I will start sharing my journey. Although it's not been long, I guess I'll just start a little bit before I entered my degree. So I think contrary to some, I've actually known that I wanted to take on STS for my degree. And a little bit of a background is that I came from a pure science background up until pre-uni. In pre-U, I actually took foundation in life sciences at Pusat Asasi Sains University Malaya, which is the UM's Foundation Study Center. And, you know, while throughout my foundation years, after I was done and it came to actually choosing my degree, this is when I started thinking about, oh, you know, instead of focusing on the things that I've learned so far, why don't I also take into consideration the things that I enjoy or maybe my strengths as well and find something that would fit that. So I've always known that my strengths have been more towards social science because I love reading. I've always had opinion pieces when it came to policies, education, social issues or matters. However, I also really loved learning science, and I've been learning it throughout my entire my entire life up to that point. So after doing a little bit of research, I found that STS hits that sweet spot between bridging the two, basically bridging my strengths, which would be more towards social science, and also natural sciences, which is something that I absolutely really enjoy and am passionate about learning. And yeah, that's why I guess how I started to come to learn about STS and how I started my journey here. And coming into STS, I would say I've been very grateful because at the very early on at the start, I knew that we had really great lecturers. And even throughout like COVID time, you can tell that these are the lecturers that genuinely care about us and want us to excel in this course. They're always there to help, but at the same time challenge us. So I think after sort of coming into STS and understanding a little bit about what STS is, I realized that I wanted to explore what's out there for me. And to do this, this is how I started to get involved in quite a lot of things throughout my university time. So it started from, professional student organization, being involved in NGOs, volunteerism, case study competitions, development programs, even public policy competitions. I really wanted to build my capabilities and put it out there that there is an STS represent in a diverse types of opportunities basically. So I think I first started actually doing this when I was part of an external organization called the International Council of Malaysian Scholars, which is an organization that focuses on empowering youths both personally and also professionally by conducting events like corporate roundtables, development programs, and even policymaking competitions. So when I was in this council, I was part of the policy. I was the overall director for policy and strategy, which was kind of an extension to my role as an STS student, I would say. But basically, my time in this organization has actually led me to understand the myriad of opportunities university students have out there, especially when it comes to students who study an interdisciplinary background like STS. So things like corporate consulting, product management, management training programs, research and analytics. So it was a lot of things that I found out. And so I leveraged on this knowledge to continue to basically continue to explore more options. So from here, basically after joining like external student organizations, I also led a few volunteering projects in So one of the things, one of the projects that I've led was Global Community Service, where I led my entire team in transitioning our international volunteering project into a project that was fully virtual because of COVID. And so we had multiple phases throughout our programs. And one of the biggest things that we talked about and really pushed out for during my time as director was about sustainable development goals, which was something that I learned to gain throughout my time here in STS and really wanted to bring that out as a director for a volunteering project in And then moving on from there, this is where I think Dr. East has mentioned just now, where I was part of a program led by McKinsey, which is one of the top consulting firms globally, on actually being part of a social entrepreneurship program. And this is how Kita Genius was actually birthed from. So we basically focus on building problem-solving skills among young refugee leaders. And I can share, I'll probably touch on a little bit about how STS has really helped me in terms of building a social entrepreneurship at a very young age. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but I would say the struggles throughout that was very real, but I was able to, I think I played a very integral and important part in my team in terms of really pushing forth content that was able to empower refugees. And I think that's something that not a lot of people have the capability to do. So I was very lucky coming in from a background that was able to help me with that. On top of that, I would say, I think Dr. East also touched upon, is that I also moved on to being a vice president of strategic development of a youth-led NGO called the Culture Movement, where I led the human capital department, our creative and communications department, as well as our outreach department. In my time throughout the Culture Movement, we worked with the education ministry, we worked with a lot of different universities to provide, to teach basically B40 students about the opportunities that they have, as well as building their capabilities so that they are not restricted by their socioeconomic limitations. So I would say basically throughout my entire time exploring different things, I would say that in the end, I did want to pursue a commercial role. So out of my experiences being part of student organizations and some case study competitions, I realized that my passion is more towards gearing on commercial side. Hence why I joined the Unilever Future Leaders Program, where it's basically an accelerated development program that builds fresh graduates to land a managerial role at the end of the program. So what would take an average person maybe 7 to 10 years to reach, people in this program can reach after 3 years, which definitely stretches you and is very difficult. But I would have to say that the lessons learned and my journey from my university, being in STS, and really everything that I've been involved in has helped me land where I am here. And I would definitely touch a little bit and go more in depth on this probably in a later session of this panel discussion. So yeah, back to you, Dr. East.
Okay, thank you to all panelists for sharing your wonderful, inspiring journey with us. To all participants, we encourage you guys to actively engage in our discussion. Please feel free to ask questions or share your own insight. You can use the chat feature to post your question, and we'll address as many as time allows. So now we move forward to the next segment of our discussion. any specific course or subject or favorite that help you build your career and contribute to your achievement today? Maybe we can start let's dive into this exploration by inviting Madam Shahna Shahizan first to share her perspective, and
I'm
then followed by
sorry.
Makno, Alma, and then Mr. Azrin.
Can you repeat the question, please? Dr. Is, can you repeat the question?
Or to what extent have the lesson learned during your time at STS help you build your career and contribute to your achievement today? Any specific course, specific subject?
Right. Thank you very much. So it's been so many years. I don't really remember any particular subjects, but I remember the people. I remember the amazing lecturers. I remember how they pushed me. I remember how they made me think, always be curious, always lifelong learning, like another panel mentioned earlier. Yeah. So especially when I was in charge of the National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. So that particular policy is basically sets the tone for the national STI, Science, Technology, Innovation ecosystem. So I realized that all this, everything that I learned has societal impacts. It's not necessarily in silos where businesses can focus on science or technology without thinking of the impact on society and civil societies. Everyone has their role and everyone has the impact. So in particular, when I was in charge of that particular policy, so it opened my eyes and it reminded me, and I was blessed that we can still be in contact with all these amazing lecturers, especially in and STS, and also in our Academy of Sciences in the Ministry of Science, where we can pick their brains. And if we are not updated about a certain topic or challenge of the current SNT, there'll always be someone, how we're standing on the shoulders of giants. So we don't really need to know everything. It's fine. But we have all these people that we can depend on. Hence, when you mentioned my profile, networking, for me in particular, that's very important because we can't do anything alone. And to have great impact, definitely, we have to use our network and we have to pick other people's brains as expertise and experiences comes with their career and their own experiences. Yeah. So, and also, I think someone also mentioned about interdisciplinary. So STS in particular is amazing on that, where in my current work as the CEO of this tech startup, so when we were trying to get people, when we were trying to hire engineers, so let me just tell you a bit of a context here. My team and I are building this sustainable modular biodome. So it has transparent solar film and it has all these modules where they can do it themselves, disassemble themselves. It's a DIY concept, but it's a biodome. So imagine when we're hiring, we have to hire a mechanical engineer for the connections of the physical infrastructure itself, an architect, an electrical engineer for the IoT that we're going to assemble with the dome, and then electric engineer is different than electronics engineer, mechanical, and then the mechatronics. So you imagine STS is just wonderful, where we have the ability to understand all of these mechanisms. We have the advantage to actually manage all these people, find who we want to hire, get them together, and basically creating a shared vision towards the same objective. So yeah, that's my experience. Thank you.
Right, no?
Okay. coming back to the Istajib's questions, actually, I've already mentioned just now in the round one. I remember vividly during my time at University Malaya STS, where I joined this class of science and religion, and after that, during my working days at IKIM, Istiqamah Islam Malaysia, where we very much involved with the advisory work, I personally managed to prepare a report to UNESCO Paris on our position in terms of the triparental babies. So during that time, suddenly all these memories at Muslim Malaya, where we learn about the religious values, how the values, cultures, and religions very much play an important role in deciding what kind of science that we need for our society. So at that time, I think that is the best moment in my life so far, that we actually I can really relate to what I've learned at STS and what I actually did during my time at IKIM. And after that, when we were invited to draft an international declaration on global climate change in Istanbul, same thing happened again, where we try to bring along technocrats, religious authorities, as well as scientists to sit together and discuss on what's best for us to lobby for the COP21, which is happening in Paris at that time. We try to bring along the voices of the religious institution to take part in climate action activities and research as well. So I remember during my early days at University Malaya, where I learned a lot about science and sustainability or something during my Dr. Zida's class. I think that sparks me. I mean, this is the real things on the ground that I managed to actually relate during at that time. So there are many occasions and also events after that. And the most recent one is when I was being appointed to be the manager for the Massa Policy Development Program, where we try to promote policy research amongst the university researchers at IPT and IPTS in Malaysia. Again, I remember the class of Science and Technology Policy or something at STS, where we learn about system thinking, knowledge and innovation. All those things are actually very much beneficial for me to come up with the proper guidelines and templates on how to run or how to do a proper policy research, and also after that promote it to the masses, which is the university researchers. So I think all this knowledge that was introduced at STS are very much related to the current scenarios or the current job market. And I think that is totally something that I cherish a lot during my time at STS.
Thank you, Makno. Alma, your turn.
Yeah, so I think I definitely have to agree with Madam Shanas and also Mr. Makno just now. I would say from my end, coming in as someone who just finished my program in STS, I think STS subjects are brought for the purpose of encouraging opinions. And so basically when it comes to STS in comparison to, let's say, core or natural sciences, there's really no specific one-way approach, or there's no right or wrong answers. So things like, for example, in math, there is a very clear answer to a very specific problem. And while people may think that it's harder when it comes to natural science because, you know, there's only one answer that you need to get to, I think STS is challenging in a sense because instead of focusing on getting towards the answer, you really need to focus on the process, the structure of things, and the structure of things, and how you get to the end journey. So things like when it comes to policy making, for example, you're always focusing on the process, right? Identifying first, okay, what's the problem? What do we need to address? And I think this part is particularly difficult, and people tend to mislook this part because oftentimes when you have to focus on the process and the structure of things, it gets difficult because you don't know where to begin. However, being in STS, you're trained to focus more to focus on thinking about the process, thinking about, you know, instead of getting to your answer, how do you get to that? Providing your arguments, providing your rationales, and putting that and making sure that it makes sense when it comes to providing your conclusions on certain things. And through STS, I would say that particular lesson and learning that through subjects from like sustainability, policy, philosophy, history of science, science and religion, really all of that. It has really helped me in terms of structuring my thoughts and deliverables, which I believe a lot of people don't know how to do and struggle with when it comes to putting forth their ideas, or even when it comes to regular things like going for a job interview. So when it came to me landing my role here in Unilever, I would say that one of the main reasons, and this was feedback that I actually received from the panel that, you know, judged me throughout my entire interview process. They mentioned that the thing that made me outstanding in the interview in comparison to other candidates was basically, number one, how I put forth my thoughts, the structure behind the structure behind my ideas, and how I was able to lead everyone to the conclusion or idea that I wanted to give. So that's number one. And secondly is my ability to collaborate and also guide during our group interview process. And I think all of this is really it really built upon what I've been doing here in STS, not just only focusing on like the process or structure from the subjects that I've learned, but really because a lot of the coursework that we had ensured a lot of collaboration and ability to really work with different people and guide different opinions, which was what helped me, I would say, in terms of landing my role here in Unilever. And I guess that's what makes us STS students a little bit different. I think we are trained to think beyond what is expected of other people. I would say also being part of STS, it also builds a form of resilience when it comes to problem solving. So as mentioned just now earlier, when it came to building up my social enterprise in my second year of uni, it's definitely not an easy thing to do because you start to think, instead of thinking about, oh, some amazing idea you want to do, you always have to start from the very first, right? Which would be, okay, what are the societal problems or pressing issues that society is currently facing? Okay, and from the problem, who are the people who are facing these problems? Are they people who are reachable to us? Are we able to help them? And if that's a yes, and then, okay, so what do we need to solve? Like out of all of these problems, then we look at more of, okay, out of all of these problems that they are facing, then what are some of the things that we can touch on or help, considering a short amount of time, but at the same time would also be able to provide maximum impact. So if you guys know the matrix, so it's I think it's time versus impact, or rather effort versus impact matrix. So we want to ensure something, we want to create a solution that would maximize impact but minimize effort, because that would be one of the best ways to sort of go about something. So I think like understanding this process, it really helped me in terms of building that social enterprise. And we in fact introduced, basically because we focus on instilling problem solving within the young refugee communities, we actually was able to realize this by integrating design thinking, which is actually part of my syllabus here in STS. It was under Dr. Ng's subject. So putting that forth together and teaching it to young refugees and even putting up experiments where they worked with actual objects to make a water filtration system, which was one of the things that we did to help them get clean water, for example. So these were some of the things that really helped these young refugees. And you can see, because from what I was able to use what I've learned and translate that into helping communities in need. And on top of that also, for my internship, I took up a role in Guru Lab, which is an education technology company, which I think reflects STS quite well, bridging social as well as science, right? Ed tech. And within the organization, my role was a founder's associate, where I basically played a generalist. I didn't have a very specific role, but rather my role is more focused on looking at the big picture. How do I assist my founders in ensuring that each departments come into play and weld nicely with one another to achieve our business goal and impact our students? And I think the fact that, being in STS where and I think Madam Shanas did mention this just now, where you always have to be that middle person to ground everyone and bring different aspects, stakeholders or scenarios together. I think it really helped me in terms of excelling throughout my internship and bringing forth like different ideas or opinions. So overall, I think STS has really helped me build my soft skills and really enhance my problem solving ability, which has made me which has made me a little bit different compared to other people, and hence how I'm supposed to be able to get to where I am right now. I do acknowledge, I think there's so many things left to learn and there's always a room for improvement, but I cannot credit this development if it weren't being a part of this program, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you, Alma. Mr. Aldrin?
I think from the three panelists, the three speakers, when you landed your job in the actual world, you want to bring yourself into the team. You want to become the team player. Everybody can talk, but we as an STS alumni, we have been blessed with the ability to think critically and look into the subject matters differently, especially from the human side. And you want to go into that team to become a team player that give extra edge in terms of giving different thoughts on certain values and also looking at different angles slightly, so that you become, if it's a team of 10 people, you become the 11th person that give the thought differently to the team, so that they can look into the different angle. So for example, in the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Health, for example, is a ministry which is being dominated by those with the medical background. I'm sorry if there is those with the medical background, dentistry, followed by nursing, pharmacy, and so on. So how we can place ourselves in such a cold world of science? So nowadays, when we talk about the current paradigm shift in Ministry of Health, that we have the white paper that has been the health white paper that has been presented and has been approved by the Parliament about a few months ago. We are talking about the shift from the sick care mentality towards the real healthcare. So usually if you go to the clinic, doctors don't have that time to talk to the patient. They only, okay, you have this kind of fever, okay, I prescribe you this medicine. But we as health promoters that have those with health promotion background and health education, and myself with an STS, learning a lot of things from my STS days, that we can link together how to bring about different stakeholders working together and empower our community and bring them together in terms of, for example, during the COVID-19, I was being placed in Langkawi before the opening of Langkawi as the first travel bubble during the emergency period. So I was being placed alone with a team from Kedah. So I put a plan in place, and we went to have an engagement session with the shopping malls owners, business owners, agencies, and so on. And we managed to get those things running up until the opening of Langkawi on September 2021. So there's a lot of groundwork things, thinking that you need to do it, and you must become the linchpin. I don't know, not the linchpin, the hinge that brings together that chains together all the connecting pieces into the place. I would like to quote, and I think Shahnaz, from your previous experience in the civil service, most probably people will ask you, can you prepare a text speech for minister, isn't it? Because you have a different angle of thinking. And secondly, can you become MC or moderator for this program? Because you talk slightly different from other people. So I think that's how we are being treated or being looked upon by others. Everybody can talk, but not all people can talk like us. And I think I would like to quote, during the appointment of Sir Jackie Fisher as the first Sea Lord before World War I. Outside his office in the Admiralty in London, there is an inscription, Si Vis Pacem, in Latin, Si Vis Pacem Parabellum. If you translate that into English, if you want to make peace, you must be ready to make war. It means that if you look into our current condition, in current situation, the STS alumni graduates are being prepared to be put into this cruel world, and we manage to become a different person that becomes a team player that gives extra edge, and we can manage to bring together. So I think the extra edge, the critical thinking, how we can link science, religion, philosophy, and the technology and ethics, that's really give us some sort of edge and quality above others. I don't say that other people don't have such values, but we as an STS graduate are being blessed with all the knowledge and the skills that we managed to learn during our days. So back to you, Is.
Thank you, Mr. Wanazrin. Ladies and gentlemen, our third session is dedicated to addressing our core question of our forum: how STS contributes to a dynamic job market. STS is the smallest department in Faculty of Science. How do STS graduates contribute to a dynamic job market? Okay, so without further ado, let's begin by inviting Mr. Matno first, followed by Alma, Mr. Azrin, and Mr. Shahnaz. So Matno, please enlighten us with your insight.
Thank you, Dr. Istajid, for that question. I think STS is forever relevant for job market, due to the fact that we learn a lot, and sometimes like our previous panelist said, sometimes we've been called to prepare speeches and also to be the MCs, due to the fact that our system thinking is very much different, and we are trained to link everything and come to a conclusion. So for example, looking back at the questions on the dynamic job market, for example, what we need to address at this moment is our future threats and the future of the job market. Malaysians have and will be witnessing the effect of climate change in the form of unprecedented floods, heat waves, cyclones, for example. So for me, the future jobs for all these university graduates is about repairing the business of repairing the earth. We need to prepare ourselves for this kind of situation, and business of repairing the earth, what I call it as, we need to have a multidisciplinary knowledge, and we cannot just think in silos. Meaning, for example, when we talk about climate change, we also need to address what are the solutions, what are the ecosystem that can support the efforts and the solutions towards the climate change. So this kind of ecosystem is actually providing us with future jobs that can be explored by the STS graduates. For example, future job is about solving our current problems. Aside from climate change, we have all these inequalities, food securities, etc. So skills and knowledge acquired from the STS will equip the graduates with the necessary knowledge. Some companies or all companies are talking about return of investment, but nowadays the future is talking about return of values. So it's beyond the investment, beyond the digits, beyond everything. So STS actually provide us with a deeper understanding of the issue. Looking back at the current work that I've done before, we try to find the middle ground. We try to the middle path towards everything. For example, when I talk about the business of repairing the earth, everyone can take actions against climate change. So be it the human resource, people, the marketing, the procurement, the finance, or any other functions, provided that they have this kind of knowledge and skills that only STS can give. We learn a lot about the system thinking, the critical thinking, how to manage programs. And for me, at NASA now, it is our compulsory, it's a requirement for every policy recommendation to have a session with all stakeholders. So we don't want any inputs and recommendation to not be discussed with all relevant parties, so that we are now talking in a more multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary approach, and we can no longer work in silos. So this is where STS come into this picture. Due to its nature, we learn multidimensional perspective of science and society, and that make us relevant to the dynamic job. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I think definitely agree on what Mr. Matno has mentioned just now. I think from my end, I can take this angle a little bit more skewed towards, I think, corporate or commercial roles, considering that I am in one. I would say, building onto what I said before this about how STS prompts a lot of problem solving and a lot of and how it prompts you in terms of teaching you how to form your arguments and structure out things. I think this is something that has personally helped me in making myself adaptable across a variety of different jobs. And I think this quality itself makes makes STS incredibly dynamic, because you're able to do a lot of different things from what you've learned. So I guess firstly, which I think was touched upon just now, is really like things on policy analysis and advocacy, right? Where STS definitely comes into play to work as not just any regular policy analysis, but really in terms of providing a new form of insight and perspective into societal impacts, whether it's the impacts of new technologies or specific scientific developments, or things like what Mr. Matno mentioned just now, things on global warming. And I think from an STS perspective, STS students sort of come into come into this angle to sort of provide new ways of thinking. So when it comes to global warming, for example, and instead of, just thinking about the societal impacts of global warming, I think nowadays there are even arguments or research done on how global warming is something that actually relates to gender, for example. And this is how you sort of bridge the gap, right? And how STS students are able to provide that new perspective. Considering that, previous research has really done more focus on maybe like socioeconomic conditions, or rather more focused on, just overall societal impacts. What about we delve deeper into, does global warming actually relate? Is it a problem of gender, for example? And I think these sort of new angles are things that STS really dives deeper and explores into, which is very interesting, but also it allows you to build awareness on things that we may not have considered in the first place. I think secondly, also, I guess more on the commercial side would definitely be in terms of corporates, for example. So one thing that I've noticed, which was a potential career that I was looking into before landing this role, was actually corporate consulting. And corporate consulting is very broad because what you do is you consult companies on business problems. And I think there are specific areas in corporate consulting that STS can come into, like the STS can come and play a role very well in. And things like consulting education, for example. So under McKinsey Malaysia, they actually do have a consulting arm dedicated on education, where, if I'm not mistaken, you do work with the Ministry of Education in terms of, consulting policy consulting for policy recommendations, or in terms of building the education system here in Malaysia. And I think these are specific things that STS would be able to help or cater to, because we're sort of bridging, we're sort of coming into play in terms of looking at different angles, navigating through, the complex landscape of things like, the complex landscape of the areas of science, technology, society, looking into offering expertise, for example, on ethical considerations, regulatory compliance, social acceptance of certain things. And I think all of this has really, and basically just providing this angle on things really makes it, a student from STS, incredibly dynamic and adaptable to different jobs across all. And yeah, I think overall there's a lot of areas that you can touch on, even if you want to go into a commercial role like sales and marketing, which is sort of something that I'm doing, because I'm doing a mix of sales, marketing, data analytics, even finance, actually. So I think the fact that being in STS, because you are touching on a lot of different things, and you've already looked into, and you've already sort of had this exposure to different topics, I think it opens you up to opportunities where you're able to bridge all of, this and come up with interesting solutions to provide to, whether it's your company, your organization, or even in terms of creating a policy that can really impact people on a higher level. So I guess that would be my take on this.
Thank you, Mr. Wanazri.
What I can say is that a degree is just a piece of paper that tells other people you have graduated from which I love so much, from the Faculty of Science, which have some emotional bond with the faculty and also with the department. And it tells other people about your CGPA, what you have been achieving during your scholar years. But the most important part is how you position yourself to other people. And I have been talking about becoming a team player is something that needs beyond your know-how or technical knowledge of certain things. For example, the interviewer might be asking several questions about technical things that you know about this. For example, biology, this thing, technical thing, this and that. But they might be straight from that question and ask you about a few questions about those what's happening in the world. And there is where the edge, where you can freely voice your thoughts as long as you're not landing yourself in the hot soup lah. For example, you might be asked about what is your thought about the current political situation in Malaysia and the disparity between the poor and the urban area. So how you come about? So we are not talking about these political parties and so on, but you can give your opinions in terms how science and technology, religion, and also ethics can come into place and make sure Malaysia can become something that beyond what's currently what we know as Malaysia currently in 2023. So I think in terms of as an STS alumni and for the STS student that's currently undergoing the program, don't be afraid of becoming a generalist, just like what Alma says, but you will becoming specialist in terms of becoming the linchpin of the team as a team player, and also giving the thoughts and from the different angle. So I would like also to quote another quote. During the Napoleonic times, Napoleon has appointed many marshals, and surprisingly, Napoleon Bonaparte, some of these marshals are not even trained in the professionally in the military. There are quite a few examples of this kind of magnificent individuals. So on this baton, this marshal carries a special baton that marks him as a marshal of or the commanding officer of the army. On the baton that the marshal carried everywhere, there is a Latin inscription, Terror Belli Decus Pacis, which means terror in war and ornament in peace. It means that if you have during the specific period in battle, you will make use of your knowledge, strategic thinking, tactical thinking, and during the peacetime, you will be something that will be blessed, that been looked upon as an inspiration. So I think this is something that I hope that can inspire the STS student currently in the program. Don't be afraid. And usually I think during your days as a student, people are formally people are talking about MDG, and currently we are nearing the end of SDG, and afterwards there might be another SDG 2.0, we don't know. But I think this is where we can, as long as you are willing to learn, relearn, and have a lot of reading, Google through everything, and enhance, expand your knowledge on the world matters especially. So don't go to an interview and say, I don't know what's currently happening in Ukraine lah. So that will definitely give you a 0 marks. So you just say something, yeah, this is this situation in Ukraine between those belligerent powers will influence the world economy, and indirectly will impact Malaysia, and we in Malaysia are dependent on certain imports from this country. So if you can link all those things, I think you can tremendously present yourself as someone that is different from others. So I think I pass it to you back, Dr. Is. If not, I will not be stopping talking.
Okay, thank you. Madam Shahnaz.
Thank you very much. So for this particular question, I'm going to tell 3 stories. Yeah, so bear with me. So basically, what does STS graduates contribute to the workforce, to the jobs, to their careers? Yeah. So the first is, do you remember when COVID-19 started, the pandemic? So I was in charge during the lockdown. I was in charge of with this particular committee headed by YB Khairi Jamaluddin, which what we had to do was compile all these inventions and innovations to deal with anything COVID, be it sanitization, testing, everything. So I felt the pain of the scientists. But before that, I understood what they were trying to solve. So that definitely, as an STS graduate, you study up a bit. You don't know everything, so you study up a bit. You understand easier than most people, and so you can be on their side of the committee. You see, you have to support their inventions and innovations. So that's definitely an advantage for me. But have you ever had, or have you tried explaining what COVID was, what vaccine was to your family or friends? Was it easy? You know the science behind it, you know the importance of it, but some people just don't understand. So the delicateness of trying to get through to people. So I'm sure most of you as an STS graduate, at the very least, you'll feel frustrated because you can't get to everyone, but you'll know where to find the information, not the fake news ones. You can find the source of fake news and, justify what's the reality of it to your WhatsApp group of families and friends. That is very important, the communication of science and technology. So that alone makes me think that STS is like God sent. So we need to understand what's happening. So like Mr. Mano said just now, it's not just global warming, global boiling. So now how do we go about and telling people what it is, and how do we tell corporates or civil societies, even students with their own civil societies that plays a part in sustainability and so forth. So that's very important for our understanding first, and also how we do our part to get the message across, to create awareness and understanding. So second story is, I encourage you guys to watch these two episodes. There's this extrapolation series on Apple TV, and this is not a paid advertisement. And the second is Don't Look Up. So you'll see that an example of STS graduates, it can be anything from policymaker, from the scientist. You know how people say all horror movies start when the scientist is ignored? So there's a reason for that. So if you see these types of movies, you'll get the understanding of, oh, you don't have to be a scientist to play a part in STS. So you can be a businesswoman, a business person, and you can still play your role in ensuring and sustainability and ensuring inclusivity, gender empowerment, all these social issues, agendas to make lives better for the society. So that's also the advantage of STS graduates, where you don't have to be a certain predefined mold, then you play your role as an STS graduate. No, you can be anywhere, you can be anything, but you still have that sense of responsibility to make people understand the actual truth behind a certain facts and to create awareness. Yeah. And the third one is basically, so you know how the governments and also in actual truth, the industry, even this very silo. So we're still one person doing this, and so I'll just give you an example, an actual example. We my company is creating an application for farmers. So we have engaged all these agricultural agencies towards solving the national food security. So we found out, we've met up with all these agencies under Ministry of Science, under Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security, and other related ministries, DOSM, APU and stuff. So we've realized that they have so much data. So they even do their part for their particular, basically their job scope. Each agency have their job scope. So they have done their part, but they don't talk to each other. They don't know what each other have, the data that in actuality can be used to see the bigger picture. So me personally, as an STS graduate, is trying to solve this particular problem of breaking the silos to solve one particular issue of food security. But you guys can do it too. Find your own niche expertise area. You will see that the data and information is everywhere. How do we go about creating trust with these government agencies, civil societies, and always try to help, try to create, do kindness, yeah, create goodness. And yes, we help them with their own systems, but also at the same time, how do we use their data to create the greater good, to solve a national or international problem? So as an STS graduate, you can foster that collaboration, and and with like we mentioned earlier, it can be a diverse team of experts. It can be from religious organizations, but we can talk or speak in the same language. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. As we near to the conclusion of our forum, we have one last crucial question to address, a question that not only encapsulates the essence of our discussion, but also provides a pathway for future growth and development. So in light of the current context and the ever-changing landscape of science, technology, and society, what are your opinions and suggestions to improve the STS program to make it more resilient and impactful? So this time, Alma will start first, followed by Mr. Azrain, Medutranas, and Matno to share their valuable insight and suggestion. Alma, could you start with your thought on this matter?
Thank you so much, Dr. Is. So I would say, I think firstly, I will start about, I think I'm not going to touch firstly on how to make it more impactful or resilient, because I do think that, and I think all the panels here believe, and everyone here will believe that it definitely is a course or a study that's impactful. But I would say, I think the main thing about STS is that I personally feel like a lot of people are not aware about STS, or it's sometimes lost in translation. So when I tell people I take science and technology studies, people would think I would take something in AI, for example, or machine learning. And I think because of this, some people might not understand what exactly STS is. So actually my first suggestion, or rather, I think my take firstly is really on improving publicity about what STS is, and putting forth and increasing awareness to other people that there is such a thing of science and technology studies and what we are doing. So for example, like the video that was shown earlier, I think Dr. Aisha, you flashed it out just now before the panel session. If I were a high school student and I saw that video, I would be very, very interested, and very, very interested about what STS is. At the very least, I'm pretty sure I would definitely search more about what STS is after looking at that video, because the thought of humanizing science is definitely a very interesting take that a lot of people have not considered. But when you think about it, it's definitely something that's extremely interesting, but people just don't really understand what it actually encompasses. So so definitely the first thing I would do is really working towards improving publicity about STS, put it out there, working together with high schools or pre-uni programs, just targeting a mix, targeting individuals from different backgrounds, to really emphasize the flexibility of the course. Because sometimes when it comes to, for example, when you're choosing your UPU course, for example, people might just think that, oh, STS is probably a more like machine learning or computer science kind of program. I'm not interested in taking that. So I think if we were to put forth and really increase awareness about what STS is, as well as how adaptable and putting forth the dynamism of this course, I think a lot of people would be interested, especially because now there's a lot of emphasis on building your soft skill, becoming this like middle person. And I think there's also more heat and more publicity around interdisciplinary subjects like the STS program. So I personally feel that just putting it forth out there, working together with schools and pre-uni programs could definitely help us reach out and make people aware that there is such a thing of this program, and really increase people's, I think that would make people a lot more interested in STS. So yeah, I guess that would be the first thing. Second thing is, so this one, I guess I will touch a little bit more on the course itself, since I just, finished my program here. So I think personally, because I was part of a COVID batch, I feel like I was not able to do a lot of practical engagement in terms of field work, for examples. I believe that after when everyone was back from COVID, and I think even during COVID, I've heard from the lecturers that, there are actually quite a lot of site visits intended, but, we just weren't able to do that. I think if we were to maintain that or incorporate more site visits, let people be aware, let students be more involved in the hands-on experience, it would give them an opportunity to apply the theoretical knowledge that they've learned throughout STS into real world situations and see the impact of how, learning STS is. So I would say, incorporating, whether it's in terms of field work or case study, or even if it's possible to dab in policy making or recommendations, or maybe even having like a job shadowing event where where we get in touch with the alumni, and we get a few students to job shadow certain alumni working in different industries and see how STS is being applied. I think that would be an amazing thing and would really enhance people's appreciation for STS. So yeah, that's secondly, practical engagement. Thirdly is community engagement. So this one, I think it relates back to publicity, really just encouraging the students and our faculty to engage with more local communities and probably even address like technological challenges and concerns, probably on a smaller scale since we are getting students in. But I think if we were to have our students conduct, maybe small workshops or seminars. So for example, from my end, we have Kita Genius, we teach design thinking. I think STS students would be an excellent batch of facilitators who could come into play to teach these young refugees about design thinking and how you can solve problems with it. So I guess just engaging more with the community on how, STS plays an active role in our community. I guess that's one thing that could make the program more impactful. And fourthly is, I guess, maybe collaborations with different universities. So again, relating back to the video just now, I think there are certain universities or certain countries out there that probably have a stronger STS presence in comparison to Malaysia. If there was a possibility to either collaborate with those universities or even have even if it's just a 2-week exchange program to see how, the STS students learn or how it's being portrayed in those countries, or to see, the level of STS, how in-depth is the STS program in other countries would be. I think that would also sort of really make the program stand out a little bit more in comparison to the other existing programs. But yeah, I feel like this kind of these things would be an incredible opportunity. I know it's easier said than done. I'm just a person giving my opinions. I have not been in the back end executing it. I feel like everything that I've mentioned, pun mesti like the lecturers have definitely thought about it already. But yeah, this is my take just from a student who just completed the program. But overall, I do believe that the program as it is already impactful. We just need to get more people to be aware about what we do so that we can gain a little bit more appreciation from it. Yeah.
Thank you, Alma. Mr. Wan Azrin.
Yeah, thank you. Quite interesting opinion from Alma. When I once entered the service in 2003, and very few years afterwards, where people ask me about what's actually your background. So I just said I graduated from with a degree in science. So biology, kimia, mathematics? No. My field of study is science, philosophy, and history. So you sat down under the tree and looking at stars. So as if we are Plato or Aristotle or Socrates. So no, actually, it's a bit a hard time to explain to them how we can actually the graduates of or as an alumni of this department of this program, we have a hard time. But how we interacted with the team or organization actually translates through our works and our thoughts. It's not through how you explain to others. Secondly, I would like to recommend to Dr. Ng and also the team from STS. I have been proposing this verbally that perhaps STS becomes the community lab for social innovation. There are many hundreds or thousands of NGO programs, volunteer program out there, and I see Muhammad Noor and also Alma, even Shahnaz, also playing significant role in terms of doing the change in the real change in the community. So I think STS becomes the center to bring together this three party, the public sector, the private sectors, and also the non-government sectors. And I would like to encourage for the department to send the students not only to have practical in the public sector, those who for example, those who are doing the postgraduate study, they are from the public sector, they must go and get the learning, the practical in the non-government sectors or the private sector, so that they can have a different view of how things work in other sectors. And those from NGO backgrounds can go into other sectors, vice versa, in terms of doing their practicum. So we want to portray science as a savior of humanity, and we don't want to become sort of quote the quote by J. Robert Oppenheimer once the atom bomb has been created at the Los Alamos test site in 1945. He quoted a scripture from Bhagavad Gita. Now I become death, the destroyer of the worlds. So we don't want science and the learner of science to become the destroyer of worlds. We want to build a harmonious world that can sit together well between science, technology, innovation, religion, and we want to bring the prosperity and health to all the people of this world, so that we can cherish this world that we actually borrow from our children, and we can pass to them a better world for them to live in the future. So that's all, Dr. Is.
Thank you, Mr. Wan Azrid. Now, Shahnaz, your turn.
Okay, thank you very much. So another story, maybe the last one before we end. So I like the idea of a job shadowing, but imagine, I mean, all these lecturers, professors, you currently have PhD students who are the future KSU, Ketua Setiausaha, future KSNs of the Malaysian government. Take this opportunity to have them contribute back. Friends, don't be angry with me, yeah, because we need to contribute back to the community, right? Because these people will be in the power position. Even if I'm not mistaken, that's my previous PSU here, Penolong Setiausaha. Hi, Sita. So basically, use them for job shadowing in terms of, okay, but this is just a suggestion, of course, provided with all the obstacles that may be existing. So I had this picture, but it's okay. I was in charge of the international trade for science and technology. So, however, there was only 2 officers in charge of this, and we were to bring a group of science technology traders to the Chinese ASEAN Expo in China. So we counted so many problems of logistics and everything, but only 2 of us had to solve the issues that were at hand. But imagine a collaboration with the university for one particular events. So job shadowing, in my opinion, but events based. You see, so it depends on what is available, and you have a calendar throughout the year of what may not be confidential, and it's good for STS students to experience. For example, how the ministry is contributing towards entrepreneurship, towards startups. So events, local events especially, also is good for STS graduates to come in, to be a part of it, to be the secretariat of it, you know, not just to attend and not know the nitty-gritty of everything. So I wish when I was in charge of that particular trade that I had help, because ministries did not have enough manpower at that time. So we had to settle things on our own. So that's the first example. And then the second one is just taking into account AI and all these upcoming new technology. It's an opportunity for STS graduates that may have a better understanding of it, and maybe to create awareness for government officers, for example, you know, it's all this, but also be aware of the ethics behind everything, of course. So not other than I see that you have forums and everything, but it's very specific. But maybe also, if you already have this, something that is emerging technology that can be used for government officers to write papers and so forth. And lastly, we've been looking into freelancing. So imagine rather than full internships, there's graduates or not yet graduates, students of STS can use 1 hour of their time to and then earn some money freelancing for startups in Malaysia. But them being still students, universities still need to govern and monitor so that they're not taken advantage of. So I think it's a good opportunity to work with private sectors, even civil societies. But for civil societies and private sectors, you may need to create programs specifically for the students or graduates. You know, I'm sure they will need help, like small examples of paper writing, research papers, for example, that you as STS graduates have advantage over anyone. So that's one opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Madno, your turn. Madno.
Thank you, Dr. Tajib. For this round, I think I would like to point 3 points to highlight to improve the STS program. As we all know, the latest data on the number of students taking subjects in science or STEM at the SPM level and STM level have dramatically decreased in Malaysia. So what I think STS can improve in its program is, firstly, like Ms. Alma said, be more visible in the media in terms of highlighting your research activities, addressing the current issues with the STS solutions. I think this is important because learning from my experience at MASA, I think by having a very good engagement with the media, we can actually engage more audience and highlight our solutions, and also addressing the current issues in a more engaging manners. So I think firstly, be more visible in the media. Secondly, I think you can embed a community-based project in the STS curriculum. I think by doing so, it will be in a form of science to actions, perhaps, so that we can provide experiential learning for the students in solving real issues on the ground using the STS approach. And thirdly, I think science literacy can be dramatically enhanced when and if scientists and researchers can interact with society on the ground and capitulate on local values and knowledge. So by introducing what we call a citizen science, we can explore a more what we call a more meaningful relationship between science, technology, and society. And also, I would like to suggest is STS can explore a twinning program with agencies under MOSTI, so that when the STS student graduated, they will have what we call a certificate or whatever. So like for example, a science communication certificate, meaning on top of the regular scroll that you have, you also have some kind of relationship with the MOSTI or other ministries involved with the science and technology in Malaysia. I think that's my suggestion, Dr. Istajib. Thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists.
Dr. Is, sorry, if I may just interject,
Yeah.
not just MOSTI, all the other ministries. I mean, there's such a huge opportunity to even go into and bring STS elements into other ministries and policies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Since there is no question in the chat box, so I think with that, we have reached the end of our forum on how science and technology graduates contribute to a dynamic job market. It has been a truly enlightening and enriching discussion filled with valuable insight, personal stories, and a visionary perspective from our esteemed panelists. So I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all panelists for sharing their time, sharing their experience, and sharing their wisdom with us. Your contributions have undoubtedly inspired us and shed light on the remarkable potential of STS graduate in shaping our ever-evolving world. As we conclude, let's remember that the journey doesn't end here. The insight gained today will serve as stepping stones for further exploration, collaboration, and progress. The forum might end, but the conversation sparked here will continue to ripple through the broader community. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day. Back to you, Dr. Hashim.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Istajib. I really appreciate for your nice conversation with Madam Shahnaz, Mr. Ryan, and also other participants.
Thanks, Dr. Hashim. And thanks for all our alumni, for your contribution in these sessions. It's great to see you all here today, and we are happy to see you all success, listen to your successful story, after your graduations. Although Alma, you're still not officially getting your attending your convocation, but I think you have started enjoying your life in the job market at the moment. All right. So now I think we will proceed to the closing ceremony. All right. So thank you very much. To all of you that is still with us. At the second day of our conference. So now I would like to invite the young bossa, Professor Dr. Azizan Baharudin. She is a co-chair of this conference and the director of Center for Civilization Dialogue in Sinraya. We would like to listen from Prof. Azizan. All right, we miss you a lot. We would like to hear from you. What is your overall thoughts? On the main theme of this conference. Please, Prof.
Thank you so much, Dr. Associate Professor Dr. Mbungkwi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. I am truly fortunate and privileged, and it's indeed my great pleasure to be taking these few minutes to say a few words of sharing on my overall impressions of the seminar or international conference on STS. So firstly, without, as the saying goes in Malay, masuk bakul angkat sendiri, without praising your own self. Objectively speaking, I think after 2 years of silence, because of the COVID mainly, I think, this conference, even though still just online mostly, I think has been a huge success. in terms of getting people together, people with the same sort of vision in terms of how science, technology, and society interact. I think I have been very fortunate also. I must say this because whether people like it or not, I am an alumni also of the department. And I had the pleasure of being in the department from 1978 to 2011. Please don't calculate my age. Actually my path or my roots into STS started when I was at my undergraduate studies in Tasmania, where I scored A++ for history and philosophy of science. So this is the original name of the department, and later on it became science technology studies. And there is so much I can say, but I think because of the time constraint, I will just pick on a few things in terms of moving forward. Yeah, Dr. Ng. I think we should listen very carefully to the suggestions by our panelists in the forum just now in terms of how we can, perkasakan lagi, make more impactful and meaningful these subjects, and so that it can claim its place. I know we've had this lifelong struggle in terms of who we are at the Faculty of Science. With all due respects to the Faculty of Science, our name is Science and Technology. So where else can we be? But going back to sustainability, Royal Professor Mpu Abdul Aziz, as we all know, was the founding father of this subject at the University of Malaya back in the 70s. And what he wanted to see was science and technology being very critical element in development, but he wanted scientists to be people who are also of wisdom. And very simply, wisdom is the root of justice. This is what we are lacking of in the world today, social justice. And justice, because of the lack of it, is the root of many issues, many unsustainability issues, both physical and human, that we are seeing today. So I would like very much to suggest, if I may, in my reflection, Dr. Ng, the fact that if it's not already being done, all the alumni, for example, those people who have shared with us today their experiences, be elevated in status as associate members of the department. Maybe somehow let them be organically linked to the department. And also people used to be members of the teaching force at the department. If they so wish, they should also be allowed or invited to become members or fellows of the department in some kind of networking manner. And then I think last time when a few years back we had meetings, isn't it, of the alumni and the current people in the department, so that we can inquire from one another what progress we have made in life and how STS is helping out there. So I think we should revive this tradition. And I think it should not be, the last one we had was about, not last year, was it the year before last? So I think that's something very important to look at. So basically also I think many things to pick up from what people have said, ROV versus ROI. So philosophy is very important. And I remember the times when some colleagues very cheekily said to me, falsafah is falsampah. So I refuse to sort of take that negatively. I think what that indicates is like, I think, was it Noratia or Fospik Amma, sorry, Amma said that, lots of people don't know what STS is. And they have this stereotype view that people in STS are actually not good at anything in particular, which is wrong. Because to be a transdisciplinary person, it takes a certain kind of intelligence. You've heard of the many types of intelligences, right? And I, for one, when I was an undergraduate student as a biologist, It was my microscopic lens that was cracked. It was my what do you call it? When you do the sections of all those animals and things, it was my specimen that did not have the particular organ which I was supposed to look at and so on. And when I did chemistry in the lab, it was my test tube that was not properly cleansed by the people supposed to clean it and all that, which for me indicates that, you know, we are meant to be good at different things. And we must put aside the view that if you are transdisciplinary, then there's something wrong with you. No. In the context of sustainability, you need multidisciplinarity, you need transdisciplinarity, and most important, you need wisdom, wherein you can see the macroscopic view of what's going on, besides being a microcosm yourself. In other words, like you can start your sustainability actions at several levels, at the personal, at the community, at the world level. And currently, as everybody knows, Academic Science Malaysia is doing a national planetary health action plan. And guess what? Many of our colleagues that are transdisciplinary specimens of or species of STS discipline, if you like, subject matter, are inside that, and everybody is now looking forward to working together. So I would say, Dr. Ng, we have done quite well given the constraints that we are all under, and I hope that the alumni will continue to support us in our future endeavors. And I think the next time we do this, we can afford to spread the word around even better. Right, so I think that's it. My 5 minutes is up. Thank you so much, and congratulations once again to everyone. And I thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this very interesting journey towards rediscovering what STS is. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Azizan Baharudin. Yeah, I think that's something that is important for us to take notes as a Department of Science and Technology Studies, and so us as the community of Science and Technology Studies. So before we end our conference, okay, let me share some of my thoughts, okay, over the past 2 days. First of all, okay, again, Yang Dosa, Professor Dr. Azizan Baharudin, our distinguished guest speakers, our fellow scholars, alumni, students, and ladies and gentlemen. As we draw the curtain of the International Conference of Science, Technology, and Society 2023, co-organized by the Department of Science and Technology Studies and Universiti Malaya Center for Civilizational Dialogue, I am filled with a profound sense of gratitude and accomplishment. Our collective journey over the past 2 days have been nothing short than inspiring, enlightening, and transformative. We have explored the complex intersections of science, technology, society, and also sustainability under the overarching theme on rejuvenating STS for sustainability transitions. The discussion, presentation, and exchange of ideas that have taken place in this conference have generated new ideas and paved the way for a fresh perspective of the role of science and technology in shaping our world. A quick recap on what we have learned in this conference. If you can still recall, in the opening speech by Yang Mulia Dato' Tengku Muhammad Azman Sharifuddin, the President of Academy of Sciences Malaysia, he advised us that despite progress in science and technology, humankind must maintain balance. future are not only in technical forms, but they are social, economic, and cultural hybrid. In the first plenary sessions, our guest speaker, Dr. Munif Zobi, emphasized on the science-politic dialogue framework and the importance of having a quality dialogue in science, technology, and innovation that serve as a bridge to make politics to support science. Professor Masaru Yalimi spoke about data-driven innovation in tackling sustainable issues. In this context, Prof. Yalimi believes that data science is an excellent initiative in addressing sustainable development issues such as climate change. Nonetheless, researchers and policymakers should be aware of the issue concerning data governance, as well as trust in institutions involving in data governance. In the same sessions, from the recording, Prof. Dek Lubeck shared about his idea on social technical transition research in the context of regime and path dependence. Prof. Dek also encouraged researchers to join and participate in the movement of transformative research. In the second preliminary sessions, Professor Sujatra Raman discussed the limitation of technical imaginary and the need to establish an inclusive frame of science communications. According to her, this new frame should include the dimensions of ethical or social on top of a science-led innovation imaginary in science communications. In the same sessions, Ms. Surin, a practitioner in science communications, shared her ground experience in Science Media Center. On her suggestion, more collaboration and funding is important to encourage more scientific communication movement. This includes, for example, the creation of incentive for knowledge sharing in science communication platform. That is in our first day of conference, and in this morning, in our primary sessions 3, our emeritus professor, Dr. Osman Baka, has shared with us his insightful thought on science as a civilizational pursuit. To him, it is generally recognized that different philosophies of science are needed for different worldview and social cultural systems. Science as a social enterprise cannot be just confined to a specific technical systems. An important question that was noted here is that while the world of science and technology experienced a new growth pattern, why all issues did not disappear? Is a secularization of science really benefit humanity? Prof. Osman Baka also called for re-examination of the role of science in society, especially it is necessary to link science to the social justice system. The non-technological role of science should incorporate in science and technology development, and this includes its intellectual role, spiritual role, and social cultural role. Our final speaker in the plenary sessions, Professor Solesh from Chulalongkorn University, talked about large learning model, that is LLM, in a specific context to the impact of ChatGPT to society. He mentioned an interesting point, saying that most teachers and lecturers are in dilemma when we want students to be more IT literate. But at the same time, we do not want students to outsource their thinking to these AI machines. He asked a question whether ChatGPT is just a statistical machine, or can it be developed, fully developed into our genuine partner or collaborator that can be trusted. So, together with all the presentations in the parallel sessions, as well as the alumni forum just now, we can see that this conference has shown us that STS is not mainly an academic discipline, but is also a call to action. It is a reminder that our scientific and technological progress is intertwined with our responsibility toward society and the planet. It's an affirmation that every discovery, every information, every policy that we develop have its consequences across the world. Once again, I would like to extend my gratitude to all the speakers, presenters, panelists, and all those who have contributed to the success of this conference. Not to forget my special thanks to the scientific committee and our organizing committee who have brought this event to life. Let us embrace the power of STS as a force for positive change, ensuring that all scientific and technological advancements are harnessed for the betterment of all now and for generations to come. Thank you and stay safe. So this, I think, we officially close the iCon STS 2023 conference. Hope to see you again in the near future in more events or seminars that will be organized by both Department of Science, Technology Studies, as well as Center for Civilization and Dialogue. Thank you and goodbye.